Welcome back to Serving Up Success, the show where we take a little bit of life and career and some business insights and we blend it with a strong drink. You all know me, Bruce Kramer, the corporate cockroach. And
Gotta
she's on
unmute.
mute.
I know. I was so excited to talk. I didn't unmute.
We were excited you were on mute.
I
No,
know.
just
I bet
kidding,
you
just
were.
kidding.
You're like, oh, we got her this time. Notice nobody told me. They just left her. Okay, your turn, Natesh.
So I wasn't on mute, and I'm Dr. Ritesh Desange, your strategy doctor, and I'm just putting it out there. I'm just noticing that neither Bruce nor Angie have said, "Hey, Ritesh, we missed you so much last week." Just putting it out there. Just putting it out there. I
We're,
didn't
we're,
get that done.
we're getting to it. We have an important guest here, and we'll talk about you.
Yeah.
Okay,
All
thanks,
right.
guys.
So
Yeah,
Damn British
enough
culture.
about Natesh.
Americans are put yourself before others.
yeah.
Put your
There you
others before
go.
yourself.
Well, tonight we got a very, very special guest. I still can't believe he's here. But he's not only the associate dean at the Seidman College of Business at Grand Valley State University, but he's one of the most respected economic voices in the country. He's been featured on Marketplace, on NPR, USA Today, the AP, Financial Times, the BBC, and came knocking on his door. The list goes on and on. What makes him so famous is that he's one of those few people that can take really complex economic trends and convert them into clear, actionable insights. So tonight, we're going to enlist his help to talk about artificial intelligence, how it's reshaping the economy, revolutionizing the job market, and of course, transforming the very skills you and I, our audience, are going to need to thrive. Not to mention, it's disrupting quite a few industries. But we're also going to talk about how it's changing the way we think and make decisions. And let me tell you, that's a two-edged sword and it's scary. So AI isn't a tech story, it's an economic story, it's a job story, and it's your story. So stay with us. And now, without further ado, please welcome the economist, the visionary, and friend of the show, Dr. Paul Isely.
Woo!
Awesome.
Hooray!
I'm really excited to be here and be part of this. It's really great to see this level of excitement about economics. So
So Angie, what are we
Yes.
drinking?
Today we are drinking the Future Proof Fizz. So basically, what this is what's kind of like a gin and tonic with some extra stuff. And last week, somebody asked me about the elderflower stuff. So this is what I got. I did not use a liqueur. I used the syrup, elderflower syrup, and this was actually at Kroger. This was super easy to find. So today, what we're doing, an ounce and a half of gin or 2 ounces if you like gin. I happen to like gin, so we'll just round that up a little bit. And then some elderflower syrup or liqueur, a little bit of fresh lemon juice, honey, which I thought sounded disgusting. Sorry, Bruce, I left that one out, but I'm sure you can drop that in there. And then 2 ounces of sparkling water. And then you just put it over ice. You shake it. You did a lot of shaking. It's noisy. I didn't want to ruin your eardrums by doing that. And then you can put a little lemon in it. And here you go, future proof fizz. So
Cheers.
Yes.
Also, Bruce, I gotta give you kudos for your entrance there. I was really feeling like Kermit the Frog. You did such like hype there. I was like, and today I felt like saying waka 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 when you were done. That was very, very intense. Good job.
It's not every day we have such a
I know.
distinguished guest.
And you
So,
did a good job.
well, thank you. All right, so we're going to dive in because anytime you got AI, we're going to do probably many, many, many episodes. Thank you so much for watching us. Thank you for your feedback. This is one of the topics you keep telling us to talk more about. So we are there. So, Paul, buckle up. We're going to throw the first big question at you. is, we had a brief conversation and you had said to me, listen, AI is fundamentally shifting the trajectory of economic growth. Bruce, unparalleled, unprecedented. What exactly do you mean by that?
Yeah. So as we think of things right now, what's happening right now to white collar workers happened to agricultural workers 150 years ago, started happening to manufacturing workers 50 years ago, and it's happening now to white collar workers because what AI is doing is allowing us to do actions with fewer people. And as a result, what we're seeing right now is really fast increases in productivity growth in some sectors of the economy that we can attribute now to how AI is influencing how business is done. It's really speeding things up. How many times, Bruce, did you use AI to get ready for this podcast?
Oh gosh, every step of the way. So,
Mhm.
so first of all, great question. We use it as we tell our audience. We actually don't use a script, but we generate an outline because we know we have to kind of dice our subjects down, just like we talked last week. Otherwise, it's too huge of a beast to tackle. We use AI to help us think through that. We use AI to come up with little clever quips if need be. I mean, you can't help but avoid it. And literally, as I talk to my peers in podcasting, what used to take 2 to 3 hours to prepare for is less than 30 minutes because of AI.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and that's small potatoes compared to the AI that we see right now being used in the supply chain across the United States, where large corporations need to get things shipped to their stores, and the information from those stores go into an AI. The AI decides what's necessary. It goes to robots that grabs the stuff, and the stuff then gets taken to the truck. Now you need four people where you used to have a shipping center that had hundreds of people in it. It is
See,
really, really changing how we do business.
that's what's so interesting to me. I can't wait for you to hear more because as much as we see AI and we know so many things are changing, there's so many things that we don't see, like what you just explained. Not everybody's thinking about that, and I'm sure there's hundreds more. Now, Tej, your university deals a lot with AI in medical fields and stuff like that. Do you see the same thing, right?
Totally. I mean, we're as you know, Angie, we're a startup university, and so we're able to set up a new, and we've used AI to be very, very lean and keep our bureaucracy very, very lean in a way that legacy institutions can't. But I'm gonna just dive right in here, Dr. Paul. I've got another question for you,
Mhm.
and it's this that you're describing the impact of AI, but it's several fold, isn't it? Because it's just changing, developing all the time. I read recently Sam Altman say that having ChatGPT 5 is like having a PhD student as an intern permanently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Scary?
Yeah, it is. And what that's doing is it's narrowing the gap between those entry level workers and those high education, high cost workers. And so we're seeing that narrow. And that's really changing how we can actually attack problems. You don't need as much of the high end workers, and in fact, you don't need as many of the low end workers. So it's actually increased the productivity. How fast we're growing, it's doubled how fast we're growing as an overall economy. And that is amazing. We haven't seen that type of growth since the 1990s, when we got Word, Excel, Windows, and the internet all at the same time.
So,
So,
Wow.
so again, Dr. Paul, who's gonna win and who's gonna lose? Where's the dust gonna settle?
well, the dust is going to settle with a consolidation in the AI products, and it's gonna deal with a consolidation in the types of workers that we have. And what we're seeing right now is the losers right now are middle managers. So they're the people in the middle because we don't need as many of them, because we don't have as many people. and we have AI to replace a lot of the functions that they were doing. So right now it's those mid-50s middle managers that are actually losing.
Oh, that's kind
Wow.
of scary. That's right where I am. So I
Mhm.
think Jesse's gonna take us out to break here. I saw the 2 minute warning, but when we get
Really?
back, I have
Oh,
a Paul.
yes.
Dr. Paul, I have a question about that because that's scary as heck. Okay, Jesse, you can take us to break. Oh man, even Dr. Isely has the mandatory head bobbing going on there. Her music's doing it. So, welcome back, everybody, from break. And I'm here with an incredible guy, Dr. Paul Isely. And just before we went to break, he was talking about the middle managers are the people that are disappearing. And quite honestly, that's most of my friends. You know, I just had my 50th, and we're all in that. A lot of us are in that spot. Now I'm out on my own, doing my own thing. My world's different. But I mean, what's going to happen to these guys? What's going to happen to all my friends? Are they going to go broke? What are they going to do with their lives? You know what I mean? Because they're getting pushed out. What's happening to that sector you were talking about?
Well, what's happening right now is we're in that really high growth segment where innovations come in something called an S curve, where they come in really slowly and then they go really crazy fast and then they slow down again. And we're in that really crazy fast spot. And as that happens, it gets harder and harder for people to adapt to those changes. All right. And what the problem is for people who are a little bit older is it's about an 8-year ROI. It takes about 8 years to make up the money you need to retrain. So if you're in late 50s and you lose your job because of this, your options become narrower and narrower and narrower. But on the other side of the spectrum, we're building more stuff, the economy is growing faster, and your stock portfolio is going to do great because companies are going to be able to take this and really, really push the limits of productivity and gain profits as a result of it.
That's really interesting. So, also in the very beginning, you mentioned how, a blue collar saw this and agricultural saw, everybody saw this at a different time with things being replaced. And when I heard you say that, I thought, yes, I remember that. But I also remember all the new jobs that were created because of that. Do you see the same thing happening as some of these jobs disappear? Do you see them more transforming into something different? And what kind of skills will people need to do these new jobs?
Yeah, we're already seeing that change happen because firms have already figured out that they've let too many middle managers go in some cases.
Oh,
And the reason is that now instead of the click buttons to approve things, because AI can do that very well, you now have to be more in touch with the people who are reporting to you. And so those HR skills become really important. Not the HR hiring and firing, because AI does a lot of that too. But the HR skills where you have to motivate workers, where you have to guide the strategy, where you have to help people understand why they're there, those become really important skill sets for a middle manager to have. You know, just think about it
So,
right now. We're all using AI and we're not AI natives.
right.
Um, but my kid is, teenagers today have basically started to grow up with AI and they're playing with it. When you play with something, you come up with ways to use it that are much different than those of us like me who use it to go from point A to point B. And so we're just at the very beginning to learn how we can even use the technology as it is today. Even if AI didn't improve at all from what it is today, it would take 10 years for us to figure out how to use it the best ways possible to advance businesses.
so Dr. Paul is another way of saying this that if you're creative, if you need to deal with people, other humans on an emotional level, if you need to do things which are arty, which need some fuzzy logic, if you need to do all of these things around the periphery of these hardcore skills, then the humans have the advantage over AI. Can we say that?
At this moment in time, we still do. So
Thank God
the
I have a
one thing
place still.
so the one thing that the one measure really is curiosity. So we're not seeing the AI components, being able to replace that piece of your workforce. And that curiosity leads to all of those individual pieces that you were talking about, that creativity. Because what we're really seeing with AI is looking at what lots of other people have already done. All right. And what we're thinking about with an individual is thinking of a new way that no one has ever done it before. Um, so we're able to
That's
go much further. I mean, in the medical stuff, it's really cool because it's pattern recognition that AI is really good at. So it sees things in maps and it sees things in large data that's hard for us to see. So if we understand that and take advantage of it, then we become more powerful and we keep our
Yeah.
job.
Can we use the word, I always like to use the word, and a lot of my colleagues do too, augment. The best way to think about AI, the best way to take advantage of it is to make it be not your replacement, but your augmentor.
Right.
If a word like augmentor exists, but it should do now, maybe.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's really good to use AI to make you better. And that's what people have to focus on right now. There are a lot of businesses out there that have shifted from that augmentation mindset to the replacement mindset.
Yeah.
And so what they're doing is they're gutting those early jobs. And there's already starting to find out that by gutting the early jobs, no one's learning the job well enough to lead. So there's this balancing act that's going to happen. And we're not to a point where we figured out how to do it.
And to that point, and I can't believe we kept Bruce quiet this long, but to that point, Dr. Paul,
I'm panicking.
I know, I bet he's over there
I'm
like, oh
just
my God.
kidding.
But
No,
your
this is
entry,
exciting.
it is. So your entry level jobs, because my son's 25, right? And he's an engineer, so he's got a little bit of a path. But what happens? How do those kids get from college to the next level without entry level? Because like I can tell you right now, my kid's not ready for that. I mean, those first years of entry level teach you all the things Natej was talking about. So what's happening with that gap?
Yeah. What we're seeing more and more is that there's an entire rung of the ladder that's been taken out because of AI. And so it's a matter of how do you replace that? And for young workers right now, it's moving from big companies to small companies because small companies are further behind in their ability to deploy it to replace jobs. So a really viable strategy for young people is to start not thinking about that Fortune 500, but thinking about those mid-sized corporations or their smaller corporations where you can learn those early skill sets and then you move to those large companies at a later point. So
That's great
that's
advice.
mhm.
Yeah. And I know we'll talk more about this. So I'm not going to go there quite yet, but it's something that I know we kind of ran over is Paul, you talked about the speed. So not only the significant change that AI is driving, but I remember Toffler's third wave where he talked about the agricultural transformation was 500 years, the industrial was 500 years, and predicting safely that the technology would be fine. That paradigm is hosed. Am I not correct with this kind of a change?
Yeah, I mean, certainly what we're seeing now is much speedier change than we've ever sort of seen before. Now, I would argue that the true revelation in manufacturing, where jobs really started to drop, has only been 50 years. So agriculture was 500, this was 50. So the next one is 5 or 10 years. So I'm seeing it step down, not be those big long time frames. But where we're at right now, it's going to take us 10 years even just to figure out how to use everything we already have. And that's trying to hit a moving target because
Mm.
AI is not standing still. It's moving.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, yeah.
And so people are going in and they're using it for these lower level tasks, not understanding that it actually is replacing some of the higher level tasks at an even faster rate.
And
Yeah.
who's got the advantage of Dr. Paul globally? Who's got the advantage geographically? Who's got the advantage?
Geographically,
Yeah.
well,
Sorry?
Stumped him.
right Right now, it comes down to who has the energy. So you need lots and lots of electricity to make this happen.
Yeah.
In the United States, we're now at 5% of our electricity usage from data centers. So for you to take advantage of that, you have to have energy. And right now,
Yeah.
China's ahead on that. Europe is behind on that. The second thing you need are people who are willing to take chances and are in managerial systems that allow them to take chances to try new processes. And there we see some advantage for Europe
Yeah.
and the United States at this moment in time.
Yeah,
That's
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 fascinating.
fascinating. That is
Yeah.
that last thread is fascinating to me because I never even thought about energy in this equation at
same.
all.
Yeah, it's actually people thought that it would be EVs that would come close to breaking the grid, and it's really data centers that is pushing us to the edge. So we're seeing decreases in the quality of power. According to some studies, we're seeing tremendous water usage to try and cool down these units. And so we're really looking for technological change to allow AI to do this with less energy. But it's probably 5 to 10 years before we'll see that really bite.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Sorry, Angie, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just processing, I'm the slow kid in the room here. So
No,
EVs being
I
electric.
own that.
All right, Bruce and I share that title. But I was thinking EVs, it just took me a minute. Maybe it's my gen. But I was like electric vehicles, and I'm like, holy cow. So you think for me, I'm thinking, that's taking up more than all these cars. That's incredible to think of how much power. And like Bruce, I just hadn't thought about that aspect of it before. And
At
eventually, that's
all.
not an infinite resource, right? That's a little scary too.
Nope. And as we've gone through the last set of movement to move to cleaner energy sources, a lot of our base load capacity has been taken offline. Uh, so we have less available stock to actually put into this. So it's going to be very interesting to see how we manage this. And it probably is going to increase the probability that we see more nuclear energy happening in the United States.
Wow. Sorry, Ozzy didn't like that either. That was my dog.
Yeah. I think
He's like, I'm scared too.
your dog
This is the
is
first time the show has impacted the
an animal.
It's the
the
first time Ozzy's
animals.
ever said anything. You scared him, Dr. Isley. He's terrified. Oh
Jesse,
my
you're
goodness.
going to have to take us away. This is a great point to break. Natej, you're going to bring us back into this whole cognitive shift with the doctor, the two doctors squared. We're in
We're
big,
going to
deep
jazz. We're
shit
going to jazz
trouble
with
now.
the, yeah.
All right,
The
Angie, take
big
us
jump.
to break.
Welcome back, everybody. We're talking to Dr. Paul Isely. We're going to change tack a little bit now. We're going to talk the section that's loosely called the cognitive shift. Let me set the scene for you, Dr. Paul, here a little bit. You talked about previous revolutions. You talked about the agricultural revolution. We can include urbanization in that, can't we? What can we learn from those previous transformations that could be useful to us in this transformation? What can we learn? To give us some tidbits or insights into stuff from the past that we could use for this transformation.
Well, one of the most important things to know is that as we go into the transformation, we go through that high speed change, that there are people who are losing their livelihoods. They're losing who they are. They can't, they're not able to provide to society what they were able to before that shift started to happen. But the economy is growing so fast that it's generating more money than those people are losing. So we have to be aware that this is happening, and we have to be thinking about how do we take care of people as they're losing that, because we really want this technological shift to make things that much better for us as we move down the road. And so we have to, that's one big thing that we saw in the manufacturing revolution is we saw that breakneck increase in productivity, but as a result, manufacturing workers lost their jobs. and we didn't come back in and make them better off, even though society had earned so much extra money. And
Yeah.
we paid that social price, so we shouldn't do it again.
And we're still paying that social price. That's a great point. Let me change the tack slightly. I'm hoping you agree, but if you don't, please tell me. Humans haven't always thought the same way as we think now. In the past, in different geographies, but it's certainly at different times, all humans, all of us, thought very differently. We may not have even looked the way we look now. We may have been much shorter. We may have been much slimmer. And, what's going to change? What's going to change at the group level cognitively? How are we going to, we think
I
so
think he's trying to say,
differently
are we
to how
going to
we
get
thought
stupid?
2,000 years ago. What's going to change in the next 20, 50 years? How are my children and great grandchildren going to think?
Well, let me just, I agree with Angie. I mean, so far, the way we've been describing this evolution, are we going to end up stupid? Are we dumbing everybody down?
Well, what's going to happen is we're not going to be able to, we're going to be using different skill sets that we have. We're going to have to hone those skill sets. So for the last 50 years, we've been learning how to do business the way we're doing business now. In fact, even if we think about computers, we've basically been using the same systems now for 30 years. All right.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed much. And so people who are good at visualizing that, good at understanding that, have gotten ahead. And they're using a certain part of their brain. All right. We know that the AI is going to decrease our cognitive abilities in some places because we don't have to use it anymore. All right. And those areas are going to get weaker. And we've seen that. We've seen that in study after study, that actually it happens faster than we thought, that we're talking months for people to lose skill sets that took them years to build.
Wow.
It's stunning to see that. And they've done this, Microsoft has done some studies on this. We had a recent one in Lancet that showed that it took just 3 months for doctors to lose the ability to find cancer in colonoscopies. That's an amazing finding.
Shit!
Yeah, it's like literally.
Shit!
But
Angie's dog's
No
going to
pun
bark again.
intended.
Don't make my dog bark again, Dr. Paul.
I'll try not to do that. But what it does mean is now we don't have to have that piece, that pattern recognition that had been optimized by these very high-end professionals. Now we need to be thinking about those other skill sets, those other parts of the brain that maybe we haven't used as much. Some of those creative, artistic, some of those curiosity, some of those ability to have a high EQ with people. Because even though we can make an AI sort of feel like it's emotive, they aren't very emotive.
No.
All right.
No.
And so we're going to have to exercise parts of our brain that we haven't been exercising. So it might feel like we're getting dumber because something that we spent a long time getting good at, we're not going to have to use anymore. But we're going to have to use other parts. Think about the early 70s. We got calculators. Before that, people who were really good at doing math in their head had huge scientific jobs. And in the matter of 5 years, the need for that type of person went away. All right. That didn't make those people stupid. It meant that they now had to spend time learning new skills.
But to be creative, if that creative part of the brain is going to be enhanced. There's bad creativity and good creativity, right? Bad creativity is essentially lying, telling untruths, but doing it in a very clever, manipulative way. And good creativity is inventing, innovating, and so forth. So it's not all good, right? It's, just because we're going to enhance the creative side of our brain, it's not going to be all bad. But it's certainly not going to be all good.
Yeah, I mean, there's been several economists try to figure out where we'll be in 50 years, okay?
Yeah.
And there's sort of this, well, we'll probably just keep growing a little bit faster. But there's two other paths. One is we harness AI to do good and leverage ourselves. And that sort of gets us to that Star Trek type world where we've taken technology and advanced ourselves. The alternative is sort of the Terminator world, where you used AI and used it the
Dog's gonna
wrong
bark.
way, and you end up destroying civilization. And and so we have to be paying attention to this. We have to have ethicists thinking about this. We have to have philosophers thinking about this. And we need to get ahead of how it's being created and used so that we can have that nice upward towards the Star Trek type world.
You know,
And
Bruce. I saw Bruce exasperate. I've got to bring Bruce in here. We've got to
I know,
bring
I
Bruce
was
in.
just gonna do it too. I was like, he's sitting
Bruce
there
so
rocking. We gotta let
exasperated.
him talk.
He's looking around. He's
At,
gone.
at,
I don't know what he's
at the,
doing. But Bruce, what's going on
okay.
in your head?
At this point, this is a 2 drink minimum show.
We're doing shots
No,
after this.
this has
Yeah,
been
shots afterwards. Yeah.
absolutely. But I do want to say, and you know, now this is gonna speaking of dumbing this show down, but as Paul, as all of us have this Dr. Nitesh, Dr. Dr. Paul, as we get into this, it's been absolutely fascinating. There's been elements of this conversation. I'll be honest, I'm in the business of business. I did not think about a couple of these elements, like the, you know, as you brought up the energy, but also these two separate paths. I have had great concern, but you know, again, I come back to some of our prior shows around awareness, action, and then the accountability. Is this is a wake-up call for all of our listeners that are tuning in. There's no need, you know, definitely Dr. Paul has indicated there's going to be a lot of opportunity. We got to get clearly aware of where we are in this scheme of things. What kind of job are you in, your role, whatever. And then you got to think about specific actions and don't panic. I mean, geez, don't panic. When we get into the fourth segment, we'll probably get a little bit more into this, but there are things you can do to, as Paul said, to start using other parts of your brain, but you're going to have to take action. You're going to have to
Yeah.
hold yourself accountable. But if you do that, the upside to this is, oh, Katie bar the door. There's a lot of opportunity. This is not doom and gloom. So, oh my God, let's not panic. You know, an extra drink will help, but
Yeah.
let's not panic.
I like what you said about accountability too, because something else you said, Dr. Isely, that got me thinking. And the last thing you said was not only is it going to be an accountability we hold to ourselves to learn new things, but it sounds to me like we're going to need some type of social accountability. You know, you're talking Star Trek, we're going to need a federation. Like, who's going to keep us in check morally, right? Because that's
Right.
not something that I feel like Washington's thinking about. Is like, you know what, let's set a moral board up over here to manage AI stuff. What do you think about that aspect? How are we going to teach our society to hold each other accountable in that way as well?
Well, that's where it gets a little scary because we've already put ourselves into echo chambers where we choose what we want to listen to or see and narrow it down to things that think like us. Now AI can give us exactly what we think. And so there's nothing that helps us understand that we may be getting off track more in an ethical or a moral way. And so it really requires that businesses, because they're the ones who are really pushing AI faster and faster and faster, start thinking about how do we make sure that the people who are here are using it correctly. And we can do that at the university level too. So we have students coming through and they tend to choose easy paths sometimes and use AI in places that they shouldn't. All right. And so one of the interesting things is the success of something that was nearly dead as a result of all this. So we're all old enough to know something called a blue book, where you would go to a class and have to write out the answers in a blue book. And that's their sales are going way up because we're having
Really?
to force people to take the hard way sometimes because taking the hard way is how you grow. You know, you have to have resistance. You just like weight training. You have to have resistance. And if you've chosen a way with zero resistance, you don't grow.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty heavy. The dog didn't bark yet, but I see that we have to go to we have to go to break in a few minutes. So why don't we take this opportunity to go to break, let that sink in, and then we come back with some more questions. So Jesse, if you could take us a little early, that would be great. Okay, welcome back again, and thank you everybody for being with us as always. So Dr. Paul Isely is here dropping some heavy stuff on us. We're all sitting here processing all this information. And as we were on break, I thought, this is like everybody, companies, but also individuals. This is like drinking water from a fire hose, right? It's coming out so fast. And if you can't just really go to Google and say, I want to learn AI, right? You'll just get billions of answers. And what would be your advice to really be ready for this? Because I'm ready. I'm creative. I'm curious. I want this to happen. I want to be ready. But I don't know where to start. And I use a lot of tools, but there's, for every tool I use, there's 100 I don't. What's your advice for helping somebody to get ready for this change?
Well, the starting point is playing. You got to play with it. You have to get in. You have to not be scared. Um, my advice to someone who's never used it before is plan a vacation with using AI. It's an amazing tool for that, and you'll start to understand how it can help you on that dimension.
Oh,
Um, you know, think about think about the places where it was first used in business, which was note taking. So that we got rid of the note taker, and now we create minutes to meetings that no one reads, but no one actually had to write it to begin with, so it
yeah.
added productivity. Um, you know, and so that type of thing is important. Creating lists, creating, creating doing those types of things that are augmenting ideas for you where you can go, oh, wow, let's add to that. And then you learn how to add and add to what you're doing. And then think of one thing that you do that's repetitive and play around with AI to see whether you can replace that task. Because if you can, then you don't have to do that. And repetitive tasks are boring. They're
Right.
boring. They're low productivity. And so my AI screens I get around 300 emails a day. And so having it give me a summary so I know which emails are the most important for me to get to is extremely helpful to my workflow. You need to find something that helps your workflow. All
Oh,
right.
that's great
That's where you
advice.
start.
What would be some specific skills you think are going to be something you want to kind of hone in on
Yeah.
to
Well,
to develop?
so what keeps you future-proofed? Future-proofing yourself requires that you think a little bit about what jobs look like they might be pretty easy to replace. The number of call center jobs are down 25% since the release of ChatGPT. The number of programming jobs are down 5%. The number of ad copy is down 2%. All right. So jobs that have that repetitive nature to them that's in a well-defined box are the stuff that might get substituted. All right. So you need to be thinking about, how do I get out of a well-defined box? How do I get to things outside of that box? The broader things that you have to bring in, the harder it is for AI to do what you're doing. If you go back to the beginning of computers, they discovered it was really easy to teach computers to do something humans think is very hard, play chess. But it was
Mhm.
really hard to teach computers to do something that humans think is very easy, walk. All right. We have the same problems with AI. So you need to be adaptable. You need to understand what your tech competition is, and you need to build it in so that you're augmenting and not being replaced. All right. And you need to elevate yourself to understand that now I don't have to be a statistician to learn to ask really interesting questions, because I now have a tool that will let that happen behind the scenes for me. And I can ask interesting questions and get answers that I couldn't get before if you weren't sitting in a university like I am.
Wow.
Wow.
Just
That's
great
I,
advice, by the way.
I
Really, really
yeah.
wonderful.
Oh
Wonderful,
my.
wonderful news.
So let's talk a little bit about some key takeaways. I'm gonna throw this at Angie.
I knew it. I
What's
knew it. He
what's
just had
your
that look in
key?
his eye. Um,
What's your key takeaway?
gosh,
I mean,
I
my
know
head's
there's so
swimming.
many. Every time I think about AI, though, that quote, I think it was Einstein, something about I fear the day that the human technology overlaps humanity or some the technology, something like that. And I thought a lot about this as Dr. Paul was talking and about how important like the soft skills will be, like EQ, dealing with people, staying curious. Um, and I think, especially with what I do, that's something that I could encourage more people to do, to branch out and get on their own. So that was one takeaway that I thought was like, that I really need to spend more time doing that. But the other one was just to play with things. The other day I made a cartoon movie of myself and I was kind of like I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like a 5-year-old. And I was so excited. And then I'm like, look, I can even turn myself into a monkey. I was having so much fun with this and I felt like an idiot. But today I don't. Today I feel like I'm ahead of the game for being able to play and make a movie of myself where I can turn myself into a monkey. Like, how fun was that to do? So I found that very encouraging, actually. I mean, my dog's still upset, but I found a lot of encouraging stuff here. So thank you, Dr. Paul.
Good on
Natesh,
you. So two things. One that's been implied rather than stated, and it's this. Because I want to end on a positive note. We are an amazing species. We are so creative, adaptable. We have faced near extinction multiple times. It's not in the common vernacular, but we've nearly bowed out in the dark several times over. We overcame urbanization. We overcame where people went to started committing murder for the first time, when they had to live in confined spaces. We overcame the agricultural revolution, where disease entered our species for the first time, major disease, because we weren't eating healthily, we were eating processed foods. We overcame the industrial revolution where people had to get to work on time and died in factories. We're going to get over this. This is going to be the toughest, but we are a species that has overcome over and over again in the last 200,000 years and will overcome again. And that leads me to the second thing, the doctor, and this is what Dr. Paul said very explicitly: play. What was it that you became good at as
damn.
a child? Play. I became not a bad soccer player as a child and later because I played thousands of hours of soccer. I became reasonably able at soccer. I was a terrible tennis player because I didn't put the work in. I didn't play enough hours of tennis. So play with AI, add things. Don't follow regimented, clear paths. Do something slightly different. And so, yeah, those are my takeaways. I'm excited. I know we've talked a lot about downbeat things and dangers, but at the end of the day, we are an amazing species who've overcome mass extinction several times over.
Man, we're really Americanizing him too. Did you hear that? He played soccer. He didn't play footy.
Holy shit, that was a bit of a mic drop there.
I know. He's always like that. He does it every week.
Natesh, yeah, you stole the one I had about the
I'm
playing.
sorry. You should have texted me. I wouldn't have been looking. But you should have
No,
sent me a WhatsApp
but
and say, "Hey, don't do that."
if I can't add a whole lot to what what you two have just covered as takeaways, I do think that one of my takeaways is not to think of AI just as cognitive in terms of my job, but all the other implications as we discussed, like energy. There's
Yeah.
other
Mm.
facets to the growth of AI that go beyond me personally and my job, my career, etc., and just even my cognitive. There's a lot of ramifications, the social, the energy, etc. So, wow. Now, I'm going to ask Mr. Dr. Paul Isely, what's been your one tagline that, because clearly when you're when you're having this kind of conversation, it's very easy to kind of start to panic, for lack of a better word. What do you tell your students who I'm sure, oh my gosh, you guys, funnel thousands of people through. they've got to be thinking, what do you tell them to calm them?
So I can tell you the number one question I get from students is, what can I study that will be still a job 10 years from now? And I tell them that they're thinking about the wrong question. Uh, that what they need to do is be thinking about a suite of skills, and a suite of skills that is ever adapting. All right. In reality, a problem, whether it be a recession, because I'm an economist, whether it be AI, they're only problems if you don't know they're coming and you don't react to them. The worst thing you can do is freeze or put your head in the sand. The best thing you can do is get proactive and take advantage of what's there and be on the cutting edge. Because when you are, you're going to move it. You're going to move the bar, and you're going to be personally successful because of it. So you have to do that. You have to do that.
Man,
Wow.
everything you've said is so insightful. I was worried about this episode, to be honest, because I'm the creative person. I'm not always that smart when it comes to economy and all this hard stuff. But goodness gracious, you made this so relatable and so interesting. I learned so much. I can't thank you enough for joining us today.
Absolutely. Had a great hour with you, Dr. Paul. Really, thank you so much. Will you come back again? Can we make sure you come back again?
Oh, this
Can
was
you give
fun.
up
I'll
your
do
job
this
and come
again.
and join us?
Yay! All
And
right.
so a couple of things. One, thank you, thank you, thank you. There are probably people out in our audience thinking, oh my God, if you're in a business, whatever, how do I get a hold of Dr. Paul Isely? He's very well established. So I say, worst case, AI him, Google
Google
him.
them.
You can easily get a hold of him and his colleagues. They do a lot of work with businesses and other things to really help people think through this and be successful. So I want to put that out there because he is extremely successful. And as everybody could tell, this has been very insightful. So he lives up to the billing. So I hope you come back. And so what I would say to all of our listeners, your key takeaway, AI is here. You can't hide from it. And it's changing just about everything. No need to panic. Understand that. The winners will be those that adapt fast, think critically, and keep building skills AI can't replace, as Paul alluded to. So, with that, everyone, until next time, stay sharp, stay adaptable, and keep your glass half full.
I
Thank
like
you
that.
so much for joining, and thank you once again, Dr. Paul Isely. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks,
Cheers.
guys.